Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Marion K Tarot. If you're new here, I am a tarot reader of over 25 years, based in Scotland. And I do some astrology, and I'm also the host and creator of the Oracles Rebellion, a 2-day conference that is happening in Glasgow in a couple of weeks' time and online. So if you're interested to find out more, follow the links below. Now, ordinarily, as you regulars will know, I have been choosing a card deck at random from a wee jar there on my shelf. But this week I have interrupted that because I received a Kickstarter deck, and it is one of the most powerful, beautiful tarot decks I have. It is absolutely stunning, and it is called the Shadows We Cast, and it is by Nikki Ferrada, and she did the Starseeker Tarot as well. Absolutely stunning. The images are beautiful. So that's the backs of them, and you'll see you've got lovely matte edging. And yeah, so I'll show you some of them. There's the Queen of Pentacles. It's stunning. Right, so that's a couple of the cards, and we're going to use that this week because, you know, coming off of that Libra full moon last week, it felt really heavy, you know. And the astrology is heavy, you know, for April. You know, there's so many planets right now in Aries. There's Mars and Mercury preparing to come into Aries as well. We're going to have a massive pile up, and it is, you know, it is something that we've no experience really, to this extent and to this level of intensity, and you can see it playing out in the world, you know, with different, you know, etc., different things happening and warmongering, etc. I don't know how much I'm allowed to say on YouTube, so that's why I'm always very general as much as possible. But you know, we don't need to look far to see the fact that, you know, Aries is traditionally the god of war, but it's also the Emperor, and the Emperor, one of the kind of nicer or kind of sometimes forgotten side of the Emperor is about strategy, you know, and there's so much, you know, about the kind of the harder sides and the more shadowy sides of the Emperor, you know, about the control and about the, you know, like the austerity, etc. But also there is always that fact to remember that, you know, the Emperor looks after everything. You know, if he does not make the proper decisions, or she makes it, you know, um, everything everything goes to shit basically. You know, and I think again that's something that we can see playing out, when leaders don't make the right decisions or make the wrong decisions. Chaos ensues. You know, so there is that going on. But as I say, I wanted to use this deck because it is, as I say, it's absolutely beautiful, and I think it's really fitting for the energies that we are going to be experiencing. So as I say, this is for the 6th until the 12th of April. I hope despite everything you are doing relatively well. Right, so let's see. Give us some messages, please. Okay, let's see. These cards are so good quality. It's like we've got, they're kind of hard to look at. Right. Okay. So very interesting set of cards we have got for this week. At the bottom of the deck we have got Death. Okay. Now look at that, and gorgeous crow. It's absolutely stunning. Crow, raven, some kind of corvid, shall we say. And what's what's absolutely incredible, one of the incredible things about it is in its mouth, right? To me, it looks like a tiny seed, and it looks like a tiny seed that's just kind of budding here. It's just, it's just that wee slither of life. And I think that that's something that's interesting that we can maybe look into. There's, regardless of what's going on, there's always a slither of life. And when we remember that, it's really important. You know, it's like we're going to look at the death card and we're going to look at, yes, it's related to Scorpio. So if we've got any Scorpios in my life, you know, double check on them, because sometimes they can be a bit, you know, they like to be dramatic sometimes. But what it also shows is that we have got the capacity of like transforming ourselves, you know, ending one cycle, going on to another cycle. Hopefully, where you are, I know the sun's shining right now, and here in Scotland, it's a miracle. But the sun does shine again, you know, and it's how we deal with that. You know, how we see that. Is it the sun shining to give us warmth, or is it the sun shining for us to chase the shadows away? You know, or is the sun there to highlight the shadows? You know, because if there isn't any sun, there isn't any shadow. Think about it. So, you know, with the death card coming up here, I think it's important for us to realise and look at what's going on this week. You know, have you got any endings happening? Have you got anything that, you know, you're kind of leaving behind, and there's this transitionary period? Because the reason I'm asking that is because the cards that we have got proper is we have got the Fool, we have got the King of Wands, and we've got the Ace of Swords. I mean, and isn't this artwork just stunning? Absolutely beautiful. So, what is my feelings with this? It feels very much, you know, when Death and the Fool show up, you know, in the same reading. For me, there is a hard line, there is a stop, and then there is a new beginning. You know, there is. So maybe you are starting a new job. Maybe you are just looking at things, you're about to go on an adventure. I see, you know, I was watching something, I cannot remember who it was, so I'm sorry, but they were talking about the Fool card, and they were saying how, you know, as tarot readers, there's often like two camps, if you like, and there's the tarot readers who see the Fool as the end of something, and it's like being a bit like, oh, you're just going to be a bit silly and you're just going to go and jump off a cliff without knowing what you're doing. And there's the other side of people who think, well, when the Fool comes up, it's like, right, we're going on an adventure, you know, and it's like, right, let's see. I don't know where the next step's coming from, but I know that in order to go there, I need to take the first step. I tend to fall into that camp, and I know that that's surprising probably to some of you, you know. But I think it's probably my Sagittarius ascendant, right? But I see that, you know, it's like this particular Fool, you know, it's got a bird here, and maybe that's a crow, you know. It's like maybe there's the crow for the death card following the Fool and going to guide the way. And I think that, you know, the Fool, it's reaching for that star, it's reaching for that piece of light. And if you are going through a hard time right now, which a lot of us are, you know, and we don't always show it, we don't always talk about it, you know, reaching for that wee bit of light, and I feel that that's really important. Yes, by all means, you know, we need to like look at our shadow sides, and if you're prepared to do the shadow work, you know, then that's highly commendable. But it's like, throughout the shadow work, there is always a piece of light, I believe. Right? There is always even if it's just a tiny wee pinprick, like it is in this card, you know, it gets bigger. And the more you feel into that, and the more it's a sign that the shadow work's working, I believe. The more light that you find in your life as you go through the process, it means that you have got the capability of working through whatever it is you're working through. Okay, we've got the King of Wands as well showing up, and I love that because it's like the contrast between these two cards is huge. In fact, and I mean, like the King of Wands, he's got a dragon in the card. I mean, who doesn't love dragons? I mean, honestly. And you know, taking that, I mean, but it's like taking the leap of faith into what you're passionate about, you know, because the momentum that comes from that is, it's really important that we do that, because you can have something, you can be passionate about something and say, oh, I really want to do this. Or if it's like, you know, people will talk about, you know, their passion projects, and there's so many people who just stay here on the cliff and they don't move. You know, but the King of Wands, the combination of the King of Wands is here, you know, if, right, okay, so here, there's a Fool, right, and if they had never jumped off of that cliff, then they wouldn't have got to the valley here, and they would never have seen the dragon, because they'd have stayed in the dark. That's just how I'm reading them, okay? But then what we have got is, we have got the Ace of Swords, right? So it's a very masculine, energetic week this week, with these cards. You know, when I say masculine, I don't mean gender, I mean the energy of it. And it's like going forth, right? They new ideas, okay? There's a newness about this week, because maybe it is the energies that's going to be showing up this week, you know, maybe it is the astrology that's going to be affecting us this week, you know, that it just feels like this opportunity for us to have these new ideas. See, these thoughts that come to you this week, they're coming to you for a reason, for this particular time, you know. So it's like, be your own boss. And whenever, however that shows up, maybe you're self-employed, you know, maybe you've got your own business, but however it shows up for you, you know, it's like, be your own boss, be the boss of you. That's what I'm trying to say. And then the ideas will flow, these new ideas will flow, and then you have got the passion to jump off the cliff, you know. I mean, if you want to have a safety net, then have a safety net. Nobody says that you have to go like skydiving without a parachute. Don't do that, right? Obviously, I'm kidding on. You know, full disclaimer here that I am not telling anybody to go and do that. Don't want sued, fuck. So, as I say, this week going forward, between the 6th and the 12th of April, just reach for what you want. Reach out of the shadows and find what it is you want. Trust yourself. Okay? So, that is the tarot reading. So I hope you found that helpful. And what we're going to do is we're going to pull an oracle card, like always, from the Grief Journey Oracle. So let's see. Right. Okay. So did we get this last week? I cannot remember. So we've got Gravis here. Okay. And Gravis is one of the more kind of fantasy cards in the deck. And what it is it's to demonstrate, the original concept of it is to demonstrate the weight of grief. You know, sometimes it can feel like it can feel like a heavy actual weight that is like upon our shoulders, you know, and it's this whale, and it's like basically swimming through the sea, and it's got this city on top of it, you know, and it's like carrying this burden, this great burden, and it can feel like that, you know, when, and the world can feel like that right now, you know. There's a lot of us that are feeling like we're carrying so much on our shoulders, and there doesn't seem to be any let up in it. And this, I feel this card is just like an acknowledgement of that fact that we are experiencing some unprecedented times. You know, there is so much going on, and it can just feel like too much. It can feel like so much. So what I would say to you is, this week, try and find some space to be just you. Okay, try and like take. I'm almost feeling like what I'm seeing in my head weirdly is like, you know how like wee donkeys. Don't ask, but I'm seeing like donkeys like with loads of burden on their back, and then it getting removed, and then I'm just getting put into like a field and like going having a run in the paddock. right? So, I mean, maybe you literally want to go and run in a paddock. I don't know. But whatever it is you need to do to feel lighter, to feel more free, then this week find something to do that. Okay, my darlings. So, thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much. You like see everybody that's like watching to the end and commenting the wee emoji. I'm having so much fun with that. So let me see what can we have this week? What emoji can we have this week? Let's think. Let's see. Put, if you watch to the end, put a dragon. Put a dragon in the comments for to acknowledge that dragon in the King of Wands card. Okay, my loves. As I say, tickets are still available for the Oracle's Rebellion, online and in person. The in-person ones are dwindling. And just go and check it out. If you want to book a reading with me, please do so. Again, the links are in the description box. I will be turning availability off in the kind of run up to the Rebellion. Maybe next week, this week coming is probably the last week that I will have availability, and then I'll be turning them off for a considerable, for about at least a month probably, because I'll need some recovery time. Okay, my love, thank you so much for watching. Your support as always is so appreciated, and I will see you in the next one. Okay, bye.